Monday morning briefing of the Mason County Commission for the week of November 15th. We're going to go ahead and kick off with our interview for our Planning Commission applicant. There she is. I do see her on here. So is your name pronounced Terry Arcieri? Terry, if you can go ahead and unmute yourself. Let's try this. Terry, are you available? No. Okay, so guys, what we're going to go ahead and do is we will come back to Terry. I'll try one last time. Send her a message. I have sent her a message and I'll try one last time. Terry, are you available for your interview?
I can hear.
Okay. Hey, Randy.
Yes.
Commissioner, I have Terry on the phone. She's having a hard time unmuting herself. And I don't know, can you do that as host?
I was trying to, but it's not letting me. Usually it will give you a thing asking if them to unmute. Here we go. Move to bigger screen. Oh, I'm just now host. That's why. Okay. I asked her to unmute, see if she can.
I selected unmute.
Okay, she selected unmute.
Well, we can do it over the phone, Terry, if you can hear us, okay?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Commissioners, can you hear Terry?
Yep.
Okay. Terry, if you don't mind, just so we can do this, we're going to go ahead and do it just over the phone. My name is Randy, Randy Netherland. The other commissioners are here. We're going to ask you some very simple questions. I want you to understand there is no right answer. There is no wrong answer. And we ask that you be brief if you can. But we're going to go through these questions. And at the end, you will be given an opportunity to ask questions of us. With that being said, Commissioner Trask, would you lead us off? And then Commissioner Schutte and then myself.
Absolutely. Hi, Terry. What do you see is the function of the Planning Advisory Commission?
The function? I know they look over policies. I'm going to step away from your echo. They look over the policies and the zoning requirements and environmental concerns. Yeah.
Nope.
I mean, I've sat on a sub area planning committee before, and we went over like I did it for Kitsap County, and we worked on what they were changing their zoning because it was a comprehensive plan that they do every decade, and we went through all the zoning different requirements. We used the zoning maps, and we worked with the tribes, and we worked with the environmental groups and the neighborhoods, and we went over what the changes, what the impacts would be, where the wetlands are, those types of things. And then we tried to put together our plan. We put together for public review. We had public meetings, and we just kind of hashed out what all the obstacles were and how to move forward. It was a very interesting process. So I would assume this advisory panel or committee would be advising those people that are making those decisions.
Great, thank you.
Great. Terry, why is it that you want to serve on the Planning Advisory Commission?
I'm a resident of Belfair, and I think that's very valuable to our community to know the progress of where we want to go, what we're doing, what are the obstacles, and I just want to be a part of the voice and to be involved in the process.
Wonderful. So Terry, you already answered a little bit of this, but please describe your familiarity and understanding of the Comprehensive Plan, Growth Management Act, and development regulations.
My understanding, I know that it's an evergreen project. It's constantly in flux and improving and growing. That it's segregated by land use. Like, for example, industrial, 4 to 9 dwelling units. Those, I don't know exactly what your terminology is for each of those different zoning uses, but I am familiar with them, and I know it's really important to make sure you have the infrastructure in place when you grow, and to make sure that there's a plan in place for growth.
Thank you. Commissioner Trask?
Unmute myself. What is your opinion of rural development?
My opinion of rural?
Rural development.
I think it's important to keep rural, and to study the growth, not let it grow too much, because like I said, you need infrastructure in place to support it. So I think it's really important.
Thank you.
Excuse me, Terry, this board meets in the evenings at least once a month, currently meeting via Zoom. Will that be a problem for you?
Not if I can unmute.
So Terry, do you have any conflicts of interest or county code violations we need to be aware of?
Not that I would know of. I don't know what would be considered a conflict of interest.
Do you have any of the items that you'll be bringing before us? You were the septic planner, so do you have any properties that you're trying to bring in or get changed in code, or?
No.
Okay.
Great. Terry, do you have any questions for us?
So what is the level of involvement? I know there's a monthly meeting.
If you don't mind, I'm going to let Commissioner Schutte take that one.
Yeah, so it depends based on what the current work plan is. So we just recently completed a Shoreline Master Program update, which is fairly labor intensive, and so that's why we ask, or why we say it meets at least once a month. There might be times, depending on what is happening, you may need to meet more than once a month. But on a light scale, I mean, there's definitely some reading and preparation work that you need to do ahead of time, just so that you're able to have a thoughtful discussion with the group. But it really varies by the work plan. It can be a little bit labor intensive at times, but generally it's pretty manageable. I did it working full time outside of the county, and so it's a matter of just being able to set aside a little bit of time ahead of the meeting to do that preparation work.
Okay. Yeah, I think it would be very interesting. I don't know if you know about my background, but I was a septic designer, on-site septic designer in Mason County for about 7 years. And of course, you have to really study the EPA manual and learn what is important, like stormwater retention and sorry, drawing a blank, but there's a whole lot of information that you have to know as a septic designer. And I think that would be a valuable resource. When you brought up the Shoreline incident, I remember working with the South Shore, and we would go and flush dye packs down the septic systems and then go out to the bulkhead and watch the dye flow out into the inlet. And it was very interesting because they were such old systems. And then we helped them come up with a solution to fix that and protect our shorelines.
Do you have any other questions for us? Just so you know, I asked Commissioner Schutte to speak on that issue of the workload. He was there during, he was on the Planning Commission, as was I. He was there during one of the heaviest workload times in the history of Mason County for our comprehensive plans and stuff. So it's kind of a walking joke because they worked more than the commissioners did, I think. It was pretty crazy. So do you have any other questions for us?
No, I don't.
Well, we want to thank you very much for coming and speaking to us. We'll be making our decisions shortly, and you'll be notified, and we'll let you know what we decide. And then it'll be put on an agenda. If you are selected, it'll be put on an agenda, and it'll be passed at that time on a regular business meeting of the Mason County Commission. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Terry. Have a beautiful day.
Thanks, Terry.
So, commissioners, you want to hold off on discussions on this, or do you want to handle the discussions immediately?
Well, I say go for it.
Okay. Commissioner Schutte, you okay with talking about it now?
Sure.
All right. Your opinion.
I like her. I think she would be a good fit. She's got some knowledge skills that, well, I definitely don't have, other than AAA coming and cleaning out my septic. But I think she would be an asset.
Commissioner Schutte.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's a good background there, and certainly good to have that representation from Belfair on there. So I'd be supportive.
I also agree. So with everybody's permission, we will add it to our next regular meeting agenda for her appointment. Is that what I hear?
Good with me.
Okay, so if you don't mind, can you put that on? Diane, I saw that you brought your face on here. Did you have a comment you'd like to make?
No, that's fine. I'll place it on the November 23rd meeting then.
Thank you. All right, so with that, we are going to go ahead and move forward with our agenda. Next up, support services, Mark Neary. Welcome, Mark.
Good morning, Commissioner Netherland. This is, we've got a few updates for you. I'm going to turn it over to Diane to talk about the Sandhill Park host contract.
Morning, commissioners. So Clayton, who's been our park host out at Sandhill, he's willing to be the park host for another year. So I have the contract I'd like to put on the November 23rd agenda.
He's, as somebody from up there, he's absolutely fantastic. I've known him for many years. He always tries to keep his options open because he will fill his obligations. So if you remember, he decided he didn't want to do 2 years at a time because he could only promise you one. And so the idea that he's willing to come back is wonderful. He saved our staff a lot of work because he does a lot on his own, including picking up trash, opening the gates. He does a lot.
Oh, I think it's great.
Yeah, I think he's done a fantastic job up there, and certainly support re-upping with him.
Okay, so I have 3 for putting it on the agenda, correct?
Yep.
Okay. Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So next we have Jen. Jen's been working hard. She's got a lot of information to present to the board this morning. She's going to go over our October financials. She has a financial policy update and then the 21 budget amendments for our supplemental budget.
Wonderful. Welcome, Jen.
Thank you. Good morning, commissioners. Thank you, Mark. So beginning on page 2 for the financials for this year, we have the revenue for current expense. So
Jennifer, if you don't mind, in the future, if the commissioners don't mind, I'm gonna ask that you actually do this on screen for the public, because they wouldn't have all this wonderful information that you provide for us. You do it for us really well in our budget meetings. Commissioners, in the future, I'm not expecting to do it now, but in the future, are you guys okay with her presenting that on a live share screen format?
I think it's perfect. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a great idea.
Okay,
Okay,
please
great.
go ahead, Jennifer.
Okay, so the revenue for this year, 2021, we've received $38,003,269, and that's in the general fund again. Compared to last year, we had received $33,307,854. So this year we're at 96% of our budgeted revenue, and last year we were at 87%. Any questions on that?
Nope.
Okay. Moving on to the revenue for just the Treasurer's Department on page 3 and 4. We have a total of $26,280,510 received in 2021, compared to last year, $23,181,517. And the major increases are really our sales and use tax, of course, that continues to rise. We're at about 1.4 million more than we were last year. Another big one is the city county assistance. We've received 1,655,000 roughly. And last year we had received 981,000, and that comes from REIT. So that is tied to the sales of real estate. And I'm not sure if that has anything to do with the way that REIT was recalculated. So I'll look into that a little bit more. But
I think it's a little bit of both.
Yeah, probably. I would think so.
Because as the amount of sales have gone up, the amount that they're selling for has gone up. But the stat structure is not all so extreme. It's when you get up in the 500, 600, there's just been a lot more of those sales.
Yeah. Okay, so any questions on that before we, or on the revenue overall before we move on to expenditures?
Commissioners? Nope.
Okay, so on page 5, we have the expenditures for the general fund. We have expended through October of 2021, $32,421,692, compared to last year, $30,382,948. So we're at 79% of our budgeted expenditures this year and 79% last year. So very consistent there. Even though, of course, our budgeted expenditures were more this year compared to last year. One thing I wanted to point out is in non-departmental, we paid for the full insurance bill as an interim thing just to get that paid, and I'll do the allocation on that to roads and utilities and any other funds that pay in this month, hopefully before the close of the month, and get that allocated differently. So that 1.375 million is inflating the non-departmental cost.
Yeah.
So, our actual cost will probably be about 900,000, with the remainder of that allocated to those other funds. So I should be able to do that in the next week or.
So we're actually, because that's a huge chunk, we're actually pretty far ahead there. We have, we're doing well. Because that's 6 of one, half a dozen the other. It's all got to be paid at the end of the year. That number has to be 100%.
Yeah, we just needed to get that bill paid before October 31st. So, so we paid it out of non-departmental just to get that done. We'll go back and we'll reverse that to where it actually should be paid from. So any questions on this before we move on?
Commissioners? Nope. Nope, we're good to go.
Page 6, we have the specific revenue streams comparison, and everything again continues to be up. Any questions on that?
Community development sure bringing in quite a lot of revenue.
Page 7, we have the sales tax breakdown by month. So far for this year, we've received $6,927,433, and we have budgeted only $6.25 million. We will most likely, I know the projected end of year revenue says 7.6 million, but really if we receive 700,000 in November and December, which is pretty likely, I would say, we'll be at about 8.3 million at the end of 2021. And in 2022, we have 7.2 million budgeted. So that is a place where we could possibly go up just a little. I mean, I'm hesitant to do that, but in case the economy falls, but that is one place that we could look at to increase by maybe a couple 100,000.
What's interesting with inflation the way it is, the taxes are going to be increasing as well, which is an interesting dynamic. Not a good one, just an interesting one.
Yeah, Thursday at the Wasatch conference, they have the economic forecast. And so that'll be very interested to see where that leads us.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, any other questions, comments on this page? Okay.
Jennifer, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I have a quick question on the difference in the road diversion. So can you scroll back to page 6, I believe, and it's the road diversion property tax?
Yes.
So are we expecting to get, I mean, it looks like it's about $1 million less than what it was in 2020 at the same time.
Yeah, that's because we did a diversion of $1,080,000 instead of I'm sorry, we did a levy shift instead of the full 2.16 that we normally do under the road diversion.
And right now in our budget, we have the same for this year's budget coming up.
Yes,
Great, thank you.
you're welcome. On page 8, we have the 6-year financial recap. So our cash balance in the general fund at the end of October is close to 22 million. And we have the different reserves split out there at the top, that, as you can see, that I'm not going to list them off, but we have the revenues, again, recap 96% is what we've received through October, 96% of our budget. And then the expenditures, again, 79%. So our revenue is way up compared to what it normally is at this point during the year. And our expenditures are right in line with where they normally are. So questions on that?
Yeah, Jennifer, just a quick question on accrued leave. Not so much about the reserve, but just how are we looking in terms of our accrued leave liability? That had been a kind of a big and scary number, as recently as a couple of years ago. Have you done any looked at that at all, or is that something that we could, once maybe we get through the 2022 budget, take another look at and just see kind of where we stand?
Yeah, so on the accrued leave, the excuse me, the 347,742, that's just a 3-year average of what we've paid. But this year our accrued leave is up, and I actually have, I think I put 100,000 into the amendment because we're looking at paying a little bit more than what we have the last few years.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we can scrutinize that a little bit more too.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, page 9 and 10. So page 9, we have our special fund. Oh no, I'm sorry. This is cash balances. Special fund cash balances on page 9. So we are at $45,058,022 at the end of October, and that of course is way higher than the last 5 years. A big portion of that comes from the American Rescue Plan Act. We've got almost 5.6 million sitting in there at the end of October. So, but even with that, we're still about 10 million higher than we were at this point last year for our special funds. So, so that is great. The county road fund is higher due to they have a few $1 million that needs to be paid to ER&R, and I think I mentioned that last month. And so, and I had mentioned that to Loretta, but I need to get with them and make sure that that transfer happens in November or December. Get that done. So, any questions on this?
Nope.
Nope, looks like we're good.
Page 10, we have the motor pool recap. So right now, through October, we have expended almost $1.2 million. We're at 89.3% of our budget, and we should be at 83.33 if we were doing everything, exactly 1/12 of the year. But the capital upfits, we've expended everything that we had budgeted there, and so and more, and there is some more in the amendment coming that we'll be going over in a few minutes. We also have the parks and trails. Their fuel is in need of a budget amendment, and then the coroner, I plugged in $12,000. I grossly underestimated their fuel and a few other things that are in their budget amendment. Questions on that before we move on to the special funds for revenue and expenditures?
And for the public looking at that at home, even though it looks like such a huge number, if you look at the numbers that are next to it, it's actually small in comparison to our big budget. Just it's a huge change for theirs, which is a very small budget.
Okay, any other questions or comments?
No.
Okay. Moving on to page 11 and 12. So 11 is the special fund revenues, and we are at $51,060,954 at the end of October. And compared to last year, $33,358,796. So this year we're at 89% of our budget. Last year we were at 80%. And some of the big differences are in Fund 117, Community Support Services, and then in health, they've received grant revenue just like the general fund has for COVID, a lot more than in previous, or more grant funding in previous years. Any questions on the revenue before we move on to expenditures?
No.
None.
Page 12, the expenditures, last page. We have on the expenditures, $38,109,114 expended through October, compared to last year, $29,302,468. We're at 56% of our revenue this year, our expenditures this year, and 57% of our expenditures last year. So very consistent with the budget. And again, more revenue, more expense. So questions on this?
Nope.
Okay, thank you. So the next thing that I have is the financial policy update. And I just finished that up this morning and emailed it out to the audit committee for review. And so I'll be bringing that forward next week. Once I get the feedback from the audit committee, I'll email it out to countywide and then brief it next week. But if you want to go over the changes really quickly, summarize changes, I'm just putting in a blurb about the EFT, so that the electronic funds transfer, so that we can, expend payments by EFT. And then on the internal rates, I put some wording in there for clarification, since there's been some confusion about who calculates what, how things are calculated. So just a little clarification on that. And then, and on fees as well, making sure that there's some cross-checking going on with rates, and they're not just sent out by departments. And then the last change is the county's financial reserve on the very last page, which you don't have, but you will next week. The county's financial reserve and contingency policy states that on the fund balance of 15 to 25% is what will be budgeted. That's the target balance. So that's in line with our contingency policy. So just a little update on that. The next thing, any questions on that before we move on? Comments?
That percentage that you just gave, Jennifer, is for our unreserved general fund balance. Is that correct?
It's for, we call it a reserve. It's 15 to 25% of the previous year's annual expenditures. And then anything in excess is unreserved.
Great.
Does that make sense?
Thank you.
You're welcome. So the next thing that we have is the request for supplemental appropriations and amendments to the 2021 budget. And I also plugged in here a $30,000 operating transfer in OPD, Office of Public Defense, moving salaries down to operating. And that 30,000 is not in addition to their 15,000 that they can do without going for board approval. So
just so I'm clear on this, we're not actually adding more money. We're just doing a transfer because we allow them to use within the department up to 15,000, but we're agreeing to 30,000 transferring from salaries and operation budget, but it does not change the bottom line.
that is correct, yes.
Thank you.
If the board is okay with that, I'll put that on the next action agenda.
I'm comfortable with that. Are you, commissioners?
Yeah.
Yep.
Great, thank you. So on the budget amendment, we have a total increase in authorized expenditure appropriations of $3,634,622. And do you want me to kind of go through these?
Yes, please, because you still have the public. We actually have people here this time, and I'm sure they'd love to hear the differences.
Okay, so on the general fund, and this is on the detailed attachment A to the draft resolution. So this is for WSU, we have an increase of $11,197. They just wanted to increase their revenue for some for some grants coming in, and so there's no expenditure change. And also in WSU, they have $18,600 for additional grant revenue and expense for a grant. In the auditor's office, we have $30,000 for an election grant, increase to revenue and expense. District Court, we have $10,435 increase to revenue and expense for dispute resolution, AOC revenue, and computer replacement and interpreter fees. For community development, $15,000 increase to revenue and expense for plan review fees and services. For the sheriff's office, $11,018 for off-duty patrol contracts. And then the next one is in the treasurer's office as revenue, $255,892 for the one-time law enforcement and criminal justice revenue. And then in the sheriff's office, the expense, $255,892. And that's just for that law enforcement expense. I'm not going to list off what that is unless you want to. Okay. For Fund 117, Community Support Services, we have grant revenue of $1,524,000 and then expenditures to offset that. Communities Services Health Fund 150, we have an increase to revenue and expense of 295,000 for grant revenue. In the landfill, we have increased revenue of 400,000 and increased hauling costs 400,000. In the general fund, the expenditure. So this is stuff that will be coming out of ending fund balance and does not have offsetting revenue. So we have the IT computer replacements, 69,000 for the auditor, Board of Equalization clerk, WSU, coroner, DCD, district court, DEM, and facilities. In the auditor's office, we have $3,776 for a reclass of the financial analyst to a senior financial analyst. In the general fund support services, we have $85,120 for the reclass of the central services admin and budget manager positions, and then succession and change from director to county administrator. In district court, $64,010, increased jury trials, district court IT equipment for building 10 and reclass of court admin position. Community development, 60,000 for fire investigation contract. Parks and trails, we have $100,900 for professional services contract of 50,000, and increase in operating costs, including extra help, OT, fuel, cell phones, Santa cans, and water service. They were very severely under budgeted in parks and trails for all of that. The coroner, we have the 12,000 that I mentioned in the prior briefing for motor pool fuel and motor pool maintenance. In the sheriff's office, 195,000 for capital upfit fees of 165,000, and gloves for the jail due to COVID of 30,000. And that's something that could go into the American Rescue Plan Act expense, but in case it doesn't, I'm putting it into the sheriff's office. So just some detail on that. For non-departmental, we have $301,871 for insurance increase. We had budgeted 900,000, and I'm not sure that will be quite enough. So I wanted to make sure we were covered on that. And the accrued leave payout that I mentioned in the last briefing, and then housing authority MOU for assistance. The sheriff's boating program, we're adding $5,000, and that's for boating repairs. In the landfill, we have a capital machinery purchase of 100,000 that did not have any budget authority, so I wanted to make sure they were covered there. Information technology, Fund 500, we've got 78,000 for offsite storage, and that's the offsite storage is 64,000, and then the chart of accounts rewrite that we briefed earlier this year, 14,000. And that is all. So any questions on those?
Not just a comment for the public. So just so they know, $3.6 million is being added. Of that, we have additional revenue that has come in to offset at 2.5 million. And some of the other things that don't have additional offset actually are extremely important and a step in the right direction for the county, such as IT computer replacement and some of the machinery and the likes that come before us here. So I just wanted to get that out to the public so they understood it.
Great, and that I think is all that I have on my list.
Just a quick question, Jennifer, on support services. Should we consider adding the change for HR, the change we made there to a director level? Or is that something that is just okay to anticipate for 2022?
I can take another look at that. Because that position is vacant, I thought they would have enough budget authority, so I didn't increase that. But if you want to see that, I can definitely add that.
Yeah, it's probably fine. Just wanted to see if you were thinking about that at all, I guess. But good with me. If you're good with it, I'm good with it.
Okay, I'm fine with it. It's something that I do have on my list for the budget briefing to address for 2022. So we can talk about it more then. I do have actually 2 grants that I need to add to this budget amendment for non-departmental, the CDBG, $100,080, and then the CV1 and CV2 grant. I think it's about $1 million, but we'll expend about 500,000, up to about 500,000 possibly this year. So I'll add those and rebrief that next Monday, if that's okay, and then add this to the November 23rd action agenda. Okay.
That's good. Commissioner Trask, you're the vice chair, correct?
No, that's Commissioner Shute.
Kevin, I need you to take over the meeting for a minute. I had something just happen I need to take care of, please.
Yeah, perfect, no problem. Okay, is that all, Jennifer?
That is all. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. All right, Mark, looks like you're up next.
Thank you, Commissioner Schutte. So I am updating the board on our general wage increase for 2022. And I had it right here. So we are revising our salary schedule and our we're adding some steps to it. So in 2021, I believe that we only had 6 ranges, 5 or 6 ranges. In 2022, we're going to have a total of 10 steps. And how we did that is we added some steps on the lower end and kind of in the middle. So as you look through that and look at the changes, for the most part, as an employee progresses through their work here at the county, they're going to get about a 2.5% increase every year in years 1 through 8. And then 8 through 10, that increase would drop down to 1.25%. So this is a briefing specifically on the fact that we're adding these steps, as well as adding an overall wage increase of 1.75% for our non-represented staff.
Great. So Mark, the total impact that we have to the general fund, just under $110,000, that includes both of those changes, though.
Correct.
Baked in there. Okay. Perfect.
Yeah, for the 2022 budget, that is correct.
Great. Commissioner Trask, any questions?
I don't, thank you.
Okay, very good, Mark. We're good to move forward.
So next on our agenda, I think, is
Got Nicole up.
Nicole. Yes.
Morning.
Morning.
I brought forward for briefing, it's our medical rate contribution to amend the resolution we had for 2021 to update it for 2022. So for the medical contribution that's already been agreed upon of the $1,414 per month, for the 2022 rate for these are rates for elected officials, eligible non-represented employees, and any of the collective bargaining agreements that were ratified on January 1 of 2022. So the rates being proposed is $979.40 per month per employee, and those are for employee only coverages, no dependent coverage, and that's based off of our highest premium rate for this year, and then the $1,746.86 per month is the pooling rate for employees with dependents that we're using against the premiums. And then for the medical contribution for the based off the 2021 rate is $1,362, and these are this rate is based off of the collective bargaining agreements that have not been ratified as of January 1 of 2022, which is general services. And their rates, like I said, based off the 1362, and it also is for a medical only coverage versus the full package coverage.
Okay, any questions, commissioners, for staff? Okay, everybody comfortable moving forward?
Yep.
Okay, all right, perfect. Commissioner Ellie, you ready to tap back in?
Yeah, first of all, I apologize, folks. In all the years that I've been doing this, I've never had it happen. I didn't realize how bad it was. So doing chemo has some side effects sometimes. I've just never had it happen on camera before. So my apologies. With that, what else do we have? What's next?
I believe we're moving on to community services.
Oh, you're completely done with your department?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. Next up, community services with Dave Windom.
Morning, commissioners.
You're
I'm
not
sitting
Dave.
in for I'm sitting in for Dave in his absence today. So good morning. And we only had 2 items in your packets with Casey and Lydia. However, Lydia told me her item was already briefed previously and taken care of. So I guess we can skip over that and move on to Casey with our Concon amendments.
So what I have is, hello, good morning. I have the amendment 24 to the consolidated contract, and it basically is a year-end amendment, rolls money back and forth into different spending piles, but the overall effectiveness is it adds another $150,000 for COVID-related expenditures that will be able to be billed backdated till July 1. Foundational public health, this is going to add $1.5 million for additional public health staff through the next biennium, so the next 2 years. So it'll be $761,000 a year. And it's not only staff, but and then the Office of Drinking Water, this is just moving funding from one state fiscal to the next. So it really doesn't have any effect on us. It just matters of where they move it, the funding to.
So with that, the question I have is, we have that already in this year's budget, you're saying, and we're just moving it forward. So is it affecting our budget?
We build out for, no, it's not.
Okay.
We build out for this year. And the money they're moving is going to basically, we're going to get January through June.
Okay. Jennifer, do you see any issue with our budget that we're dealing with right now?
I'd have to take a closer look at that before
Please do. Just in case I'm not talking about your budget as much as I am our whole county budget as we're going through. So go ahead. Commissioners, do you have any questions for Casey?
Just a comment. I think it's awesome that we're getting more money for foundational public health. It's needed, I think.
Commissioner Schutte, you ready to put it on the agenda?
With me.
Okay, we'll make that happen. Thank you, Casey.
Thank you.
Now, we did brief on it, but is it on the agenda for next week, the $25,000 to do work in Mason County around marijuana prevention education? Diane?
That has already been signed. It was brought a couple of weeks ago to the action.
Okay, so it already was on the action agenda. I know we had briefed on it. I knew we had talked about it. So I wonder how it made it into our books. Interesting.
Yeah, Lydia said that was already taken care of. So
Okay.
Yeah, I think we voted it last week.
Okay. All right. With that, do you have anything else for us?
well, related to the foundational part, back on October 18th briefing, we requested another environmental health specialist utilizing this additional funding related to FPHSS. And this was to do some work in our food safety program. So back in that briefing, all of you were in agreement, but you wanted to wait until this contract was secured. So we're thinking we have approval to place that on the 23rd agenda, where it would be approved with this contract change and increased funding. But I just wanted to bring that back and make sure you all remembered that briefing and were agreed in moving it to final approval.
Commissioner Trask, you remember?
I do. Yep,
You're
absolutely
good.
support.
You good? Commissioner Shooty, you remember?
I do, and I am.
Okay, same here.
Perfect. Well, that's all we got.
Okay, do you have anything on the building side, Kel?
I did talk with her this morning. She said she didn't have anything.
Okay.
Oh, there she is.
Nope.
Yeah, she said she was good. So
Okay, wonderful. All right, commissioners, any questions for Alex? Hearing none, we are going to go ahead and move on. 10 o'clock. We have Public Works at 10:05. Let's go ahead and take our break till 10:05, okay?
That's good.
Okay, we're on break till 10:05. Thank you, everybody. All right, then welcome back. We're going to go ahead and move into Public Works. Loretta Swanson, Utilities and Waste Management. Sorry, Loretta, I had to prepare clam chowder for everybody, so
Oh, you really should be sorry.
needed to take the break.
Where's the clam chowder invite?
Well, actually, there should be enough if you come on down. I got a whole big, there's probably a gallon and a half in there.
Oh, yum. It's a perfect day for clam chowder. Let me tell you. All right. Well, this morning, commissioners, we have a couple of utilities items that Richard is very excited to share with you. We'd like to share potential ARPA-funded projects that we discussed during budget briefing and be able to provide a little more detail about what those projects entail and answer any questions you may have about those. So with that, Richard, how about a quick rundown?
You're muted, Richard. I'm sure what you're saying is absolutely brilliant, but you're muted.
Is that better?
Don't let me down now. I expected brilliance out of
It's been a while. It's been a while. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
All right. Sorry about that. Let's go through a Marcel Marceau kind of a deal there. So here we go. I got 3 different utilities that these will affect. Russellwood Water, first one. Well and reservoir electrical and control system upgrade, and also a 6-inch pressure reducing valve replacement. Both those projects are rather large hits to the pocketbook, especially for Russellwood. And these are things that we would really like to get done. One, just for a more resilient system. And 2, that 6-inch pressure reducing valve really needs to be replaced. If you're at the bottom of the hill, you have very high pressure right now at Russellwood. 2 is Beards Cove, AC mainline replacement. $100,000, that would get us started on an area of that system that has had a number of issues.
What is AC?
AC is asbestos cement pipe.
Okay.
It's been used a long time in the water field. It is very hard to work around. Right now, you could push a rock through it if you were digging next to it. It's just brittle. It's prone to failure. Otherwise,
I hear about it all the time, Richard. Every time it busts, this must be that area down below there. So
yes,
that's old pipe there. That makes sense. Okay.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. And so that would be really helpful. And then we get to Belfair pump stations. Belfair pump station. Pump station 1. This is the one right in the middle of town. Operators like to call it pot shop. It's right next to one of the cannabis stores. We'd like to install an automated sprinkler system on that biofilter. One, that would be something that would be automated based on moisture of the media. That media has to be moist in order for the bacteria to do their job and consume any odorous type materials. And so we do on occasion get odor complaints from that station. We'd like to install bollards around that hatch, the well hatch, as right now you can park on it But if there's ever, and people do, that's the problem we have, is people using the store next door, park on it. Sometimes they're there for hours. And if we had an emergency, you know, we would have to forcibly remove that car, or it's just not a good place to park, and we need to have access. And then the third thing would be to install a third submersible pump at that station and the necessary electrical components to make it work. And this is all in the name of one of those pumps goes out, we only have one pump in there, and if it has a problem, there's no way to move the wastewater out of Belfair fast enough.
That's our low point also.
That's the low point, yeah. And then Belfair Pump Station 3, this is the one up on top Sunlit Canyon Road, halfway up Romance Hill. This is the pump station that connects town to the treatment plant. We have two pumps in there. They're Cornell pumps, really reliable, heavy duty type pumps. But somewhere along the line, and since this place has been built, the seal water system is just inoperable, or it never fixed. And as a result of that, the seals in the pumps are leaking. I mean, when the pumps run, they pump fine. A lot of a portion of the wastewater comes out of those seals, falls on the ground, goes back in the drain. It's just its own little internal recycle. And it really needs to be addressed, because we're also have the opportunity to suck air into those pumps, and then that'll cause cavitation, which I'm sure it has on occasions. And that destroys your impellers and the rest of the working components of a centrifugal pump. So that is a whole nother project. And that's something we had scoped out. And that's about 180 grand to do all of this, the work that's in there. So that's replacing the seals without with mechanical seals that do not require seal water systems. And then also putting new impellers, repacking the bearings, vibration tests. And then also there's the inlet and exhaust fans of that building are somewhat inadequate. You can tell by just the moisture content within there throughout. And I mean, it doesn't affect the concrete walls or the metal or anything, but it does affect the motor control centers and the all the electrical breakers and pump starters. So those are my projects.
Questions, Commissioner Schutte, you want to go first?
Sure. So, Richard, what would be the plan if approved for this work getting out to bid? I mean, is this something that we could put out to bid at the same time we're also discussing the extension bid package? How ready are you to get this out the door? And I say that because my concern is with the new federal funding coming in, and just knowing what's happening out there, sort of in the construction market, being out early is going to be really critical to being able to get this work done in a good timeline. So just kind of want to know where your head is on those issues.
I could speak especially to the Belfair projects. A lot of that, that could be done. Whether it's part of the Belfair extension project or not, I'm not, I don't know if we need to include it in that. These are pretty small, especially like the Belfair Pump Station 1 improvement project. Well, I better look at that one because that is installing a third pump.
I just mean in terms of, would you be ready to go out to bid on a similar timeline? I mean, would you be able to release?
Definitely.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely. These wouldn't be that hard to spec out. We've had them actually pointed out to us through this whole process of evaluating the Belfair extension project, and we just had while we had engineers on site, just double check the reliability of the rest of the system. Actually, this was part of the general sewer plan, facility plan update as well, and so these were captured in that document that they're working on currently.
Commissioner Trask?
think-
Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I think actually, yeah, I think even the AC mainline replacement, that would be a little more work than the other two projects there. Russellwood Water, we're pretty much ready to go right away on advertising that as well.
Commissioner Trask?
I think, we have until 2026 when the projects need to be completed. So if we can keep on that timeline. So when we went on the tour, you guys took me around to see all the fun septics, or not septic, but sewer plant. One of the containers, and I'm not sure which plant it was. It was at the
North Bay. That was at North Bay.
North Bay, right. So that one needs repaired also. Do you have estimates on that, or?
No, that we've got that had a leak in the tank, and we've made a temporary repair on that. My idea on that is when we're doing not in 2022, but 2023, I'd like to do a general sewer plan update and actually just have that looked at, really, because technologies have changed. That was one of the very first, if not it's one of the top or first 3 plants in the state. And it had a technology that I've never seen in use since. Really, it's different, it works, but there is other capacity or technology out there that you could get more capacity in the same footprint. And that's what I'd be looking at, really, is what could fit in here, and we'd get more out of that space.
Right, and I know the people that work out there, they're just amazing, and you've scrimped along on many of them, but I think, if we can fix something, let's do it.
You bet. And that's why I'm mostly focused on the things that keep them up at night and keep me up at night. And they're kind of big hits to our pocketbook that, this would be a great way to take care of it. I guess that'd be the best way to put it.
Right. Excellent. Thank you.
You bet.
As for myself, I want to just make absolutely positive that all these things do fit within ARPA. I also noticed that the North Bay was left out, and I know we've had several spills, several issues there at the North Bay, and I know we're backed up on a capacity issue. So I hope we're looking forward to that and seeing what we can maybe do with ARPA funds that will fit within that parameter, because those are right in front of us. And again, one of them, the recent leaks went into the lake, and we have to make sure that we have so much redundancies that never happens again. So
Amen.
I hope that you would please consider that when looking at other projects. But I was a little taken back that there was nothing for North Bay, just knowing that.
Well, yes, I'm sorry, I didn't formally put it on here because we already kind of, I guess, approved 2 pumps for that pump station through ARPA funds. I probably should have had them on here just to document it. But yes, I agree. If there's other things that could help North Bay out and make it more resilient, that'd be awesome. And we will definitely check into it.
Okay. Commissioners, any other last comments on this issue or questions?
Yeah, just kind of get when will we move this forward? I mean, are we comfortable moving it forward today, or do you need something else from us, or what would kind of help facilitate moving forward with these?
I don't know. I think I'll defer to my director on that.
Well, commissioners, as I understood, there was kind of a 2-step process, right? We've got the final approval and action on the budget, and then commissioners' decision on what projects are actually funded utilizing the ARPA funds.
Right. I think we still have 1.3 million from the first tranche. And so these might be able to fit in through that. Mark, if you and Jennifer could maybe, and Loretta, maybe get together and let's bring it to our next meeting.
Okay.
So bring it before the board for final approval in the next meeting.
Yeah, go ahead, Commissioner.
Oh, sorry. I think what we've done in the past is we brought it toward or before the ARPA group first,
Okay.
just to make sure that it fits all the parameters. And then we bring it toward or before the board to make sure that, and then because everything's set in line, then the board can take a look at it and go forth or whoa.
The one
Sounds
thing
good.
the one thing that's interesting is we've had everybody else put their stuff on the SEDS list when possible, but we didn't do that for ourselves. So just a point to make out there. I myself think we need to invest in the county's infrastructure. So please don't take that as a confusion in any way. I think that's extremely important. And it's part of the reasons why the money was sent through the county was to make sure the county infrastructure, which benefits everybody, gets taken care of as well.
Yep.
So I look forward to having those conversations further. Anything further on this one, commissioners? Yes, go ahead, Loretta.
Just a quickie, Commissioner. I understand that the SEDS list is being updated again. And so if that is an important thing to do, we can include these projects on that list as part of the next update.
It's on in 10 minutes.
Oh, okay. Too late. Too late for that update.
Well, in actuality, though, yeah, go ahead. But the commission does have the authority to add things onto SEDS lists.
Okay.
So, it doesn't have to go strictly through the process that we've done. We've done it in the
Sure.
past. We've added something, but and that's just a comment to the commissioners, nothing more.
And I think that the ARPA funds have been, we've approved projects that were not on the SEDS list as well, because they did benefit the county.
So anything further on this issue? Okay, what else you got, Loretta?
Okay, next up, we have a request to go out for proposals for on-call services. And Richard touched on this a little bit just previously. We're doing everything possible to alleviate staying up at night and worrying about what ifs. And this is just one more redundancy to make sure that we're adequately covering emergencies within our utility services. So we're asking to have some on-call services for lift station pumping, jetting, video inspection.
So Richard, you don't want to come out with me at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning anymore?
No, I'd love it. Let's do it. I just don't want it to be under negative circumstances.
No, like it was, Mark, just so you know, we had issues and we were both out there in Allen in the middle of muck and stuff at 3 o'clock in the morning, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. I myself, I see this as necessary, especially with all the different things that are going on. Our system is getting older. We're trying to get ahead of everything, but the funny thing is, the more you learn is that's broken, the more it breaks. So with that being said, I'm very much in favor of this. Commissioners, do you need further discussion on this, or are you in the same place I am on it? So I
I'm
thought,
with you. I'm good.
yeah. So let's just do it. Let's make this happen and make our system better.
Great.
Awesome.
Have more redundancy there so the things aren't as bad.
Perfect. Much appreciated.
Yeah, thank you, commissioners. And if you like, Richard can give you a quickie rundown of some of the improvements that have already occurred recently and what we're learning. So I think we've talked about the smart covers, the backwater preventer that the private individual installed. What other good things, Richard?
Well, there's those good things, and then also the potential good things that are coming. We got bids to do some of this work that we are putting this out for on some suspected areas in North Bay that could be the contributors to most of our I&I. And so we're gonna have as soon as this rain lets up just a little bit, we'll have a camera put in the line and video inspect it, try to confirm our suspicions. But it seems fairly obvious that we've got a potential for a break here, and this will be a big deal for us if it is.
Yeah.
And also these smart covers are giving us a lot of information that that we're actually extracting out of there and given to the operators under conditions like right now, inches per minute that it's filling at. I mean, that's critical information we never had before. So we can base our response and get people out there on time if there is an issue. You couldn't see that before. We can see if a pump is performing better than one than the other. So we've been able to go pull that pump and find that it was partially blocked and make that improvement before there's an issue. So it's been really, those have been very, very helpful. You know, it's all about being able to, you can't manage what you can't measure. Yeah. And so we're able to measure a lot more, and we're getting that information back to our operators, and not just giving them the information, but how we got the information so they understand it and can do it themselves.
We will never be able to measure the stuff we were able to stop before it happened, but we do know when it does happen, the cost that people don't think about, all the risk pool, the staff that goes along with each and every incident, all the people that have to be out there, all the work to clean up. It is a lot cheaper to do it the way we're doing it first, doing it early.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything further for us, Loretta?
That is it. I do have one discussion item just to let commissioners know. We've been working with PUD1 to submit a FEMA hazard mitigation assistance grant. So this is a pre-application that is due the end of November. And after all of the applications are reviewed, if we are successful, then we will receive an invitation to submit a full application. And the application that we're submitting is for the Skokomis Valley Road relocation. So this is the area where we've elevated the dips, but we still have the future project of constructing a bridge and a culvert and some additional work there. The current project is estimated at approximately $4.8 million. And you may recall that this is partially funded by FLAP, or the Federal Lands Access Program. And we have approximately 1.85 million in FLAP funds. And the Puget Sound Restoration Program, PSAR, is contributing about 1.79, and the Navy has about 1.5. So it seems at this point that we probably have enough funds for the current estimated project cost. At one time, we were thinking we needed to scramble for about another 300,000. But that said, we're still working out final design nuances. So I would like commissioners to go ahead and submit this pre-application just in case things change on the funding side and our overall project costs. So if you're in agreement with that, we would like to continue with this pre-application with PUD1.
Commissioners, any concerns or worries there?
None.
Not at all. I think it's a great partnership. Yep.
Yeah, it's been fun working with PUD on this. Absolutely. Appreciate their expertise.
So Loretta sent you several emails and stuff like that. I take it you're on all of it and you'll get back to me.
Yep.
Thank you.
Mike and his team are already checking in, and we will follow up next week on those or sooner.
No problem. Or just give me a call. Anything for Loretta and staff?
Yeah, Loretta, how are we looking out in the valley? I just saw that we're closing the road out there. How are we looking?
Yeah, we are. This is going to be a long, slow haul on this one. The crest is predicted to be about 4 o'clock this afternoon. And as you noted, the valley roads are closed. Jeremy and crew noted that Polly Jacobs, so Bourgault is still passable, or was earlier this morning. The dips passable. Eels Hill going up and out of the valley was still passable, but Polly Jacobs and the lower valley where the water is crossing Skoke Valley Road there, where the famous fish crossing, if you will, those were definitely well underwater. And the drop on the river is a very, very flat drop. So it looks as though not until Friday afternoon that it's possible it could be that long before the lower valley is reopened again. So we'll be watching that closely, obviously, and following up and making sure that we're communicating with the valley residents. Mike, if I misstated or have some more recent info that you want to share, feel free to jump in. I guess the only other thing to note is that we've talked quite a bit about these other gauges that we recently installed, and our road supervisors have found those very useful, and it's helping to better predict what the response is within the flood response in the valley is. So we're getting a little more dialed in on that.
I know you've heard the story before, but as
Sure,
for
it
that
doesn't
fish
feel that
crossing,
way to valley residents, but we're getting there.
as for that fish crossing, 32 years ago today, or not today, this month earlier, I brought my dinner home from that road. I was working for the PUD and went out there and caught my salmon just crossing the highway, or that little road. Took him home and had him for dinner.
Were you using a net?
No net, no nothing. You're not allowed to gaff them, but there was no law that I knew of for just picking them up out of the street going across.
When was it?
That would have been, it literally was 1990. Yeah, during one of the storm events, we were out there and they were crossing and I was getting done and I literally just walked out the street, picked up my dinner and went home.
Well, we were tempted when Commissioner Schutte and Mike and I were out there, a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
The fish still look nice and fresh.
They do at that point. They are very fresh there. I can attest.
My boots weren't high enough, so.
Right.
All right, anything further? Hearing none, we're going to go ahead and say thank you very much and have a great day. And we're going to move on to the Sheriff's Office with Sheryl Hilt. Good morning, Sheryl. Afternoon.
Morning. Give us just a second here. We're trying to get.
No problem.
Thank you.
Good morning, Chief.
Good morning, Commissioners. How are y'all doing?
I think we're doing well.
Wet out there.
A little bit. So this morning we're bringing you a request for sole source. It's a perfect opportunity right now with the increased scrutiny in law enforcement and the availability of state funds to purchase a piece of software that'll sort of collect all our disparate files and papers and whatnot into one piece of software. Unfortunately, we couldn't do 3 quotes because the undersheriff looked at several different pieces of software and none of them do everything that we needed to do. Hence the sole source request. So like he said, he did look at a few of those and it doesn't appear that any one of the other programs do everything. This has been brought before the IT committee. So TJ sat in on a meeting with the company last Monday, I believe it was. And so I think we have covered all the bases, but
I think you did too, and I think it came back favorable. Commissioner Schutte, you're on that committee. You have any heartburn or issue with this?
No, it was, I think, unanimously supported by the group. This is a good program funded by the state, essentially through the 5092 fund. So definitely the group was supportive of moving this forward.
Okay. Commissioner Trask, you good with putting this on and making it happen?
Absolutely.
All right, Sheryl, sounds like you have 3.
so we'll put it on the next action agenda. Thank you.
Yep. Anything else for us?
Stay dry.
Working on it.
Okay.
You got anything for them?
Nope.
Have a great day, guys. Be safe.
You too.
All right. Next up, we have Economic Development Council. Jennifer.
All things said. So we were asked to open our process back from you guys. Usually this takes place in March. But we did have quite a few, I believe, submitted to you. We were at 4. We did go ahead and open the process. We left it open and announced to all of the partners that have projects that would go on that. We had it open for almost 2 weeks. And we have 3 updates, 3 project removals for updated projects. And we have close to 8. So we had 2 projects from Belfair Water District, new well, backup generators, PUD1 submitted a substation. We had 4 projects from City of Shelton and 1 project from the Port of Allen. Those have all been reviewed, vetted by our committee. We have gone into I think the list is in front of you guys. What we did for ordering the top part of this, we still kept it in 2 sections. So projects that are at their beginning planning phase that haven't really had much work behind it, but know that that project is still a viable project that they will be working on, are down in the planning section. The readiness is for projects that are definitely moving forward, that have already got part of that planning finished, are in design potentially, that they've already gone after funding. So the way we ordered the top part of that list, the readiness section, is by the amount of funding that they have secured. So if they need less funding to finish their project, they're at the top of the list. If they need more funding to finish their project, they're at, it goes in kind of ascending order. So we vetted it through our committee. The committee presented it at our board meeting on the 10th, right before Veterans Day. The board approved it unanimously. And so we are submitting it to you guys as the updated version of the previous list that we had. We will still do our regular update come March. Again, this was just that mid-year review you asked for.
Thank you very much, Jennifer.
Happy for any questions if you've got it.
Yep. Commissioners, questions?
Yeah, Jennifer, just looking at, there are a number of projects here listed for the city of Shelton that look like they were added in 2021. Which ones did they just add to this? What is the new
So the
one?
ones that they added are the 7th Street reconstruction, North Diversion lift station, WRP filter capacity upgrades, and WRP headworks capacity upgrades. Those are the 4 they added this time.
Okay, gotcha. Perfect. Thank you.
Other questions for Jennifer on this?
Oh, great job.
Yeah. All right, Jennifer, we want to thank you very much for pulling all that together as quickly as you did and getting that to them.
Sure thing.
And getting that to the committee and then back to the board and then back to us. There's actually a lot of hoops that had to be jumped there, and wanted to say thank you. Before we leave that, is there any thing that you would like to add regarding the work? Because I was on this morning on the area command. Is there anything that you would like to add right now on the work that was being done, or would you like to wait for a future briefing?
I'll leave most of it for the future briefing. I will let you guys know that the Mason County Small Business Grant that you guys approved, we have 73 applications for. That is the most applications that we've had in any of our grant processes. So we'll keep you updated. You should be getting an email today talking about the panel. We're going to do like we did before and have the rotating commissioners. You'll each sit on the review for the businesses within your district. So you'll be getting that information, and you'll start to get the link to those 73 applications that you'll have to go through and score and review. But just wanted to say a big thank you to you guys for recognizing that our small businesses are still heavily impacted by COVID and definitely still need that support. It's always heartbreaking to hear their story, but it's also heartwarming to know that they've got places and people that are looking out for them. So we'll give you a big update next time, because by then we're hoping to be able to have the awardees selected, and we'll be able to start processing those as well. So
I look forward to the day when the free market determines who stays open, who closes, and not COVID.
Right.
So commissioners, any questions or comments for Jennifer? Hearing none, we thank you very much again, Jennifer, and you have yourself an incredible day.
You too. Thank you, guys.
Mhm. Next up, I have our 2022 budget workshop. Jennifer.
Thank you, commissioners. Okay, so I'll share my screen if you want to do that.
Yes, please.
Okay, can everybody see the 2022 proposed budget as of November
Yes.
15th? All right. So beginning with revenue and the beginning fund balance for 2022, we have 21,500,000. Total revenue coming in $40,403,106. We've got a total salaries and benefits of $29,815,490. Total operating expenditures, $13,259,917, and total ending fund balance of $18,827,699. The amount that the expenses over revenue, not including ending and beginning and ending fund balance, is $2,672,301 at this time. So questions or comments on that?
You want to have a discussion now about the on the revenues, about the sales tax or anything?
Sure, we can do that. I went through and looked at the revenue and, you know, look for places to increase, and the sales tax is the only one that I really see glaring that, I mean, we're at 7.2 million. We're looking this year to receive about 8.3, between 8.2 and 8.3, most likely. So we could probably increase that to, I don't know, 7.4. What do you think, commissioners?
My initial, you're probably accurate with the 7.4, but my initial reaction was 7. Just still to be conservative and make sure that we don't over budget that. I think we're going to be even more than 8 next year, but what if we're not? I don't know, Commissioner Schutte, where you landed on that?
So just real quick, Jennifer, where do you have it budgeted for next year currently?
7.2 million.
And Commissioner, you were saying to budget it at 7?
Well,
I just want to make sure that.
Oh, you're right.
Because I heard her going up and you going down.
About it. Yes, I'm just saying I still worry about it.
Yeah, you know, I mean, I don't know what my risk tolerance is beyond 7.2, to be honest with you. You know, Jennifer, I mean, I trust your forecasting and crystal balling, as it were, but I don't know that I would go beyond 7.4. I don't know that I would really go much beyond 7.2. So I don't know. I know that doesn't help a whole lot, but what are you using other than, right, you know, what we're trending at this year to determine that 7.4 would be a safe number?
Just that the trend, that's it. So yeah, 7.2 was the treasurer's estimate, and I mean, I agreed with her at that time, so I haven't talked to her about increasing it. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
And see, I'm looking at the last, several years and incorporating the year. That's why my number is lower. I'm okay with where we're at. And do I think we'll make the 7.4? Yes. But I'm just telling you, I just always get nervous on that one. But I was here when we took a big hit on that one. So
yeah, I agree. I mean, I'm more comfortable keeping it at 7.2. yeah, I don't like to really inflate our revenues. Another place that we can look at that I have to adjust is the property tax. So I'll be doing that this week for next week's public hearing. So I'll take a look at that and see if there's any increase there.
Do you have any idea what you're thinking that might be?
I haven't even looked at it. I've received the paperwork from the.
No problem, no pressure. I just, if you had something that you saw, I just was curious.
I mean, there's always, we could take the increase. Right now, we have no increase there. Of course, we'll get the new construction, but that 1% increase that we're allowed by law is not accounted for in the budget, and we're not planning on incorporating that into the public hearing at this time. So
Yeah.
that's something to keep in mind.
Let's just double check the commission. I myself am still not in favor of increasing our tax. Have the commissioners changed their policy, their thoughts at all?
I have not.
Commissioner Shooty?
Yeah, I mean, I think, no.
Okay. Then we won't belabor that issue. All three of us are still where we were before, so.
Okay. Great. I did go through, I mean, we have 1.865 million in grant revenue. And then I was planning on going in and matching up the revenue to the expense, and I just didn't make it that far. So I'll try and do that this week for next Monday.
Well, my big one is still in the end is, because I'm looking at that number, the 2+ million, 2.6. Where I'm landing in my head is going to depend a lot on how much we're pulling out to show as one-time expenditures.
Okay.
Because it's one thing to spend out of the excess money that we have, and it's another, as we've all discussed, to set up with a bow wave that's going to bite us year after year after year after year.
Yeah,
So,
that's my fear.
yeah.
Okay, so anything else on this sheet before we move on to the special funds?
Commissioners, anything?
No, and I agree. Let's keep it at the 7.2.
Okay. Okay, so on the special funds, we have $111,295,980 in revenue, and then also in expense. So we have $13,337,023 in salaries and benefits, and then in operating and ending fund balance, $97,958,957 for a total of $111,295,980. Any questions or comments on the special funds at this time? Okay, let's move on to the sheet for current expense that shows the PLRs, the policy level requests. Okay, so we have, again, for the general fund, the 2022 proposed budget as of November 15th, and this is the same information we just went over. And then we also have columns showing the added maintenance level items of $1,133,851, and that's included in the salaries and benefits and operating expenditures here. And then we have the approved PLRs at this time, $1,257,938, and those are also included over in the salaries and benefits and operating expenditures. We did increase the clerk's position from, it was like 14,000. I increased it to 30,531 for that 0.5 FTE. That's now becoming a 1 FTE to fully account for benefits. So that was a change from the last budget meeting. Something that we need to go over is the human resources. which we talked about earlier in today's briefing. There's 2 positions there for 2 different types of HR managers. And I have not changed that to include the HR director. So moving from 2 FTEs to 1 there, and then changing that salary to the director salary. So I just wanted to get verification that that is what you want me to do.
That is what I wanted, 2 to 1 HR director salary. That's where I was. Commissioner Trask?
Yeah, I think that's the logical, and I think that that was our intent.
Yeah. Commissioner Schutte?
I agree.
There you go.
Okay, I will make that change. And then commissioners, you had asked for the judge pro tem actuals. And so I emailed that to you last week. It looks like 2018, it was about 27,000, 2019, 33,000, 2020, 35,000, and through October of this year, close to 38,000. So any discussion or questions, comments on that?
Yeah, keeping in mind that we had times where we were closed down, we have times we were moving and didn't have the ability to do some of the things that's being asked for. And the fact that this request was so that we could catch up on a lot that is backlogged. I myself am still interested in supporting this with the idea that it is a one-time expenditure and not a hiring of an employee and that it disappears next year. So I just wanted to throw that out there because this, although this is what the numbers have been, I do know that this was supposed to be put together in order to catch up. So what do you guys think, Commissioner Schutte?
Yeah, so I mean, rolling average of the increases. Oh, it's interesting. Okay, yeah. So I'm looking at Jennifer's email. Sorry, I'm processing through that. I would be comfortable with a slight increase over actual for this year to be able to get them started. And then I feel like if it is one time, or we're looking at using ARPA money because it's a COVID related backlog that they're trying to address, that we could pick that up with a supplemental next year. I don't think they're gonna go through $37,000 in the first quarter or 2 of next year. So I think we'd have a little bit of time to monitor that while they have that budget authority.
A question on that though. Are we not also changing court commissioner or?
I thought we were just doing the pro tem.
Yeah.
No, but I meant, was there any court commissioner costs last year? Because this was supposed to replace that.
There were no court commissioner costs. We've not had a court commissioner budgeted since around 95.
Okay, so it's just an either or in your budget. So, but if we did the one, then we didn't do the other.
And keeping in mind, just a reminder that the judge still hasn't taken his allotted vacation. 240 hours is what he's allotted a year. And he didn't take it last year either.
Does that, Commissioner Schutte, does that weigh on, because I see where you're going with it, is addressing with this in the middle of the year as it becomes necessary.
Yeah.
Does this, the idea knowing that there has to at some point be a give on the vacation, does that change any of your contemplations on that?
Not particularly, to be honest with you. I mean, I still think, if the judge is going to schedule a vacation in the first 2 quarters of the year, I think they have the budget authority to be able to manage that with the pro tem line. I do have a question though. I don't know if it's more appropriate for Jennifer or Patsy, but in 2019, it looks like you were budgeted at $111,000 for pro tem, which seems like a real outlier of that. You used about 33,000 of that budgeted pro tem line. So Jennifer, do you have any history on that, or Patsy?
I do.
Yeah. Do you want me to go ahead and talk a little bit?
Because of the
go ahead.
Yes.
Okay. And still at that point, I mean, even
You're not.
Right.
bracing for maybe a worst case scenario with the transition, we're still off by $70,000-$80,000. So I don't know. I mean,
Well, it never happened like it was threatened to be happened, and the commission stepped in to have that conversation with staff which helped keep that from happening.
If I could be heard for a moment.
Judge, go ahead.
Okay, in 2019, as everybody is aware, the Public Defender's Office had begun, at least threatened to begin I call it a campaign. They would probably say something different, to do a blanket affidavit of prejudice. And that fizzled out after about 3 weeks, about 2.5 weeks. For the first several months, there were no jury trials. That has not been the case since 2019, and we did pick up. And we had our jury trials down for a brief period of time for the first part, about the first 7 months of 2020 due to COVID. Well, it's not quite, for about a 4-month stretch out of COVID. It's not been the case now. So I'm not sure exactly what is being suggested, whether to leave the funding where it is, or at the 35,000, I believe, is what's traditionally been provided, or to either give us a commissioner or give us increased pro tem funding. But I do know that we burned through it in 2021, in part because we've had to run the extra courts that we're running so we can actually get our calendars done. Before we expanded our calendars, even when we did get the interpreter calendars done, for example, a lot of his cases towards the end just got reset because there was no time to do anything substantive on them because we're running out of time to complete them because we had too much on the calendar. So we've had to take care of that. I have not taken anywhere close to 30 days of vacation time, and don't take this as my whining or whatever. To be perfectly honest with you, I traditionally haven't tried to grab every nanosecond of vacation time, but it is something that needs to be taken into consideration. And there's also something for long-term planning, so we know we have enough to get us through the year. This year, we were well on track to go through our pro tem budget very early on in the year. So I'm not sure exactly what's being considered. It sounds like not to provide any increase in pro tem or commissioner. Is that correct?
no.
Well,
No, that's not
what's
correct.
on the table? Because I wasn't part of that.
So what we're talking about is looking at where your actual is this year, which is above budget, and deciding on what level to increase it by. So, for example, 2018, you were budgeted 35,000 and we're under. 2019, 111,000 and you were under. 2020, 50,000 and you were under. This is the first year out of the past 4 that you were over. So, I don't think there's really an issue, at least from my perspective, with increasing the pro tem line as we go into 2022. It's just, in my opinion, I'm not sure that I would increase it to the extent that you requested in your budget, knowing that we could track it and monitor it and adjust mid-year if necessary.
And just so you know, Your Honor, I agree with what he's saying. Looking at the numbers, I am supportive of an increase, just not as large as what you're talking. And if it comes up in the middle of the year, that we would look at it for a supplemental if the numbers become a reality that it's needed an adjustment. So and again, there's 3 commissioners. I'm just speaking for myself with my words. Commissioner Trask?
Yeah, going through and looking at the requests from district court and a lot of other departments as well, I think that there's a lot that is due to COVID and backlog and supplies and postage. I mean, there's numerous things that I don't know that we will have in 2023. So I would be very supportive of increasing the ask for the pro tem, but not making it permanent.
Oh, yeah, I want to make that clear too, Your Honor. I myself, any increase that we put in there, even if it changes in the middle of the year to add more, I see only as a one-time not as a continued amount that will go in budget to budget. It is a one-time expenditure, in my opinion, in my eyes as well.
Okay, well, I do want everybody to understand that, and again, I'm not someone who has traditionally in my life sought every minute of vacation time that I can, but I will tell you, particularly this year, one of the reasons that I have put that on the back burner is because I saw where our current budget was going. In fact, we were on track to going through our pro tem budget without me taking more than a day or two of vacation time. I mean, that 30 days needs to be reflected, whether it's because I'm going to, if I decide to take what I'm entitled to, or if for some reason someone else is in this position after 2024, that they don't have the same outlook on or whatever, that has something that has to be taken into consideration. Because that, again, one of the reasons this year that I really have put off taking any kind of meaningful vacation is I saw where the numbers were going. And our numbers, we went through it. And I don't think our increases are all due to COVID. We have jury trials. We never developed quite anywhere near the backlog that a lot of other counties have done, because this court, and also Superior Court does it. As soon as the Supreme Court released a stay, got in there and got the trials done. So we don't have the same backlogs we do. We still have the trials.
Yeah.
So I want people to understand that chances are we will be coming for additional supplementary funding, because otherwise we will not have the resources to do everything we're supposed to do.
Yep, and we are aware of that. And now with that, I'm going to pull it back to just commissioner discussions. I appreciate your comments, Your Honor. Commissioners, I have a number in my mind that I was considering, but I'll let Commissioner Schutte go first if you would like.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I would say maybe 45, no more than 50.
Okay. Commissioner Trask.
Yeah, that sounds right. I mean, there's always the opportunity to come back and ask for an amendment. So I'm good with that.
As am I. So I'm okay with the 45. Can we agree on the 45?
With that.
Okay. So right now, that's what we're going to put forward is the 45, Jennifer.
Okay, I will make that change for next week.
Okay. And what else did you have for us in that? What about the interpreter? What else do you have there?
So the other thing, well, I mean, these are all the approved PLRs. I wasn't going to go over all of them.
We didn't need any of the laptops for them or anything, right? We didn't need any of the chairs and desks and.
No, I mean, no, we don't need any of that because we're not adding a new position. So for district court, though, we do need the administrator reclass. That's not included in here. So I'll add that for next week.
Please. Well, it's already a done deal, right? So.
Not quite. It's not approved yet on the action agenda, but.
On next week's, right?
Yeah, next week, I believe, yeah. It will
But we
be.
said we're going to move forward with that. So hopefully we have that on our budget.
Okay, so I just need to get verification to what dollar amount to add in. So I'll get with Mark on that.
Please.
Okay, so the next thing that I have is the non-departmental. We have the CV1 and CV2 grant. So I need to add that revenue and expense. So that's about 500,000 that I'll be adding in. So that won't have an impact on the ending fund balance, but I just wanted to make you aware that I'll be adding that in.
Okay.
Or get permission actually to add that in.
Any questions or comments or issues with that, commissioners?
No issue with me.
No.
You have it, Jennifer.
Thank you. Okay, and then there was a question from, I believe it was Commissioner Trask about the health department and their FTEs, and if we needed to add any FTEs in. So I emailed Casey, and he had said that the public health nurse is the only one that's not in the budget currently. So I need to get clarification on if there's funding for that, or if that's something that's coming out of the fund balance. I believe that is a grant funded item. But
Yeah,
is that additional grant funding?
Yeah, I was
for-
gonna say, are we already counting that? Because if we are, then that's another big jump.
Yeah, because if it's
Or
not, then it's got to come out of their ending fund balance and they don't have any left. So that means that we need to do another transfer from current expense to cover that. So that's something that could potentially impact the ending fund balance more.
Yeah.
This is the temporary, full-time temporary COVID nurse.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I was under the impression that we were using CARES Act from the state on that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that is the deal, is that we'll be adding the grant revenue into the budget to cover that nurse, but I'll verify that with Casey.
But what about the COVID team that they have? I think that they have three new people. Are we counting them in this year's budget and in that's where I'm confused.
So according to Casey, he said that they are in the 2022 budget. So I will verify who exactly they are and try to get, some detailed clarification on that.
Okay. And then maybe, because I'm not sure how long the grant, did the grant go through 2023? I'm trying to recall, but I don't remember. So maybe we could get with Dave or with Casey and Dave or and try to get that figured out, because I think that's it could impact us greatly.
Yeah, the way I understand it is that if the grant funding is there, it's like, it's either one or the other. And so I don't know, I'll try to get more details on that so that I can talk about it more intelligently. Okay. On Spencer Lake Management, just wanted to let you know their cash balance, we're going to reduce their beginning fund balance to $6,792 and reduce the expenditures by that amount. And then the other items that I have, so the expenditures for one time for non-departmental, for the general fund, one-time expenditures. I'm going through those. I haven't completed that, but I do have the IT trackables. So we have the IT computer replacement, which is very heavy for 2022. And I've identified some of that as a one-time. And then the upfit for the sheriff vehicles, that's, I think, $336,000 was the dollar amount. That'll be one time. And the training, stuff like that, training and classes, I can go through and segregate that as, I guess we could call that, one time possibly, if we don't send anybody to training. I think that's what we've done in past years, is kind of look at that. So I'll be emailing you commissioners this week on that.
Well, again, that's the kind of choices that we made to get those cars and to do it. But in my opinion, those are one-time expenditure. We can choose not to bring in new vehicles in the future and stuff like that for a while. We could put it off for a year or 2 years. And so that's just my opinion, though. We have to look at what all the commission needs and desires.
Okay, so any more discussion on that right now before we move on? Okay.
Sure. Anything? Nope. We're ready to go.
Okay, so so the utilities funds for the ARPA. So I'll go ahead and add in what was talked about this morning from them, the 200,000 in Russellwood. So they have
just due to backlog and due to increased postage and things like that. So I mean, your analysis fee, 77,000, and that was an increase due to backlog. So I'm wondering, will that go down? And then we have the new laws. I mean, God, there's so many unknowns. that we might be doing amendments for next year.
To fund the difference, if it's an overage due to COVID. But I really wouldn't be comfortable with wiping out the full budget line for a year. Wouldn't want to spend that money twice. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
And what I did is I took.
Judy, you were shaking your head. You're comfortable too?
Sure.
Hold it off. Okay, that's what we're gonna do.
Okay, so we'll hold off and go over those next time.
Yeah, I think she wanted to look at the list as a whole and then revisit it the next time. That's what I understood you saying, Commissioner Trask.
Yeah, I'll have a few moments in Spokane.